Howdy, Possum Patty here. And yuppers, it is pouring rain again. This has been the wettest summer ever. Well, I've been doing a little journaling. So if you'd like to see what I'm doing, come on along. So here's the story of my journaling so far. Try not to make it too long. Okay, so in my last video, I was talking about making a page. I wanted to journal about my willow trees and the very rainy year we're having and how they're loving it, because willows do love their wet feet. And this reminded me of the willow branches. So I was making a background out of this paper, all intent on journaling about my willow tree. And I was thinking, I haven't done a belly band for a few pages. Actually, I haven't done a belly band since way back at the beginning. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to make a belly band, and then I'll make a card with my willow flower fairy and journal about my willow tree, and I'll stick it in the belly band. So what should I use for a belly band? So I grabbed some paper from this same pack, and this is The Greenery by Recollections from Michaels. I know it says $9.99, but you know me, I probably paid $5 for it. As sort of like the first layer. And then I grabbed this paper from the pack, which is also gray, but has these beautiful gold leaf accents. And I layered them up. And I'm like, maybe a ribbon or Mr. Possum sneezing. Maybe a ribbon or some lace to go down the center would be nice. This wasn't here. So I picked out some white lace and some silver ribbon. And I know this paper has gold accents, but I thought the silver looked nice with the gray. So this is kind of a different combination for me because it's gray and gold and white and silver. But I think it came together pretty good. And I took it over to the machine and I was like, now what stitches haven't I used in a while? Because it makes some fancy stitches, not real fancy, but fancier than straight. And I saw this one with the flower. It's like an S and a flower and an S and a flower. I said, let me try that. And I went down that way and I was like, let me sew it to the first layer and the second layer together. And I picked this stitch. I don't know if I've used this one. I might have. But it's like an X with little triangles in it. I said, that was fun. Well, let me stitch it to the background paper. And I used like a cross stitch pattern at the top and at the bottom. And that was a lot of fun. So it was only like this. And I was like, well, now it's looking a little too formal. What can I do? I really like this. This is inspiring me to do some doodling. So I went all the way around the edge with that little flower doodle. It's just like an S and a flower and an S and a flower. And now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking this one here. Maybe I could pick up some of this gold from the gold leaf. And I sat here with my tweezers and some bling bling from the Dollar Tree. And I put a piece of gold bling in the center of each of those flowers. And I'm like, I'm really loving this. I love that little bit of sparkle, a little bit of organic flow going around here. But you know what? It's looking a little flat. I want something puffy. So I grabbed a little piece of tulle and I hand stitched it, pulled it into a ruffle, glued it down. And on the same card where these little gold blings or some larger gold ones. And I said, what if I put 3 right in the middle there? Now I'm loving this. I said, I really like how this all came together. Completely different color combination for me, but I loved it. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, but this really isn't what I had in mind for the flower fairy exactly. Looks a little formal, all black and white and silver and gray. And I was like, okay, well, I can do another page for the flower fairy, no problem. And I'll just stick something in here. And so what I decided to do was take 2 tags from the cut apart page from that pack. And I thought maybe I can make a little folder. And inside the folder, I'm going to put a little pocket. And I'm going to put Mom's prayer card from her celebration of life. And then that'll go in there. And then I think I will put some paper on the inside of here. And I'll put a little pocket on this side to put the card in because there's a poem on the back. And if you can see the picture here, Mom is sitting under a tree. And the poem on the back is the one from Joyce Kilmer. Now, this is just an excerpt from the poem. It's not all the lines. But Mom sang this in her high school graduation, and in her later years would sing it over and over and over again. I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. So I was like, I want to see both sides of that. So I'm going to make a little folder, put her card in there. And then for this side, I took a picture of the poem, and I'm just going to put that on that side like that. And then this will be like in a little pocket. And then maybe I'll put some tulle over here. And then I'll put that in there. So that's going to go there. Oh, and at the church, I picked up a little prayer card. So I thought this was nice, and I figured I would just stick that in there, and that'll be that page. Okay, so I will work on that page. And now I'm like, well, now I need a place for my flower fairy. So I took a different paper yet from that pack. And I love this. I love the way the branches are moving on this page. And it has little tiny gold dots. And I'm like, oh, that would be the perfect spread to have this like this. Like that. And I don't always match my spreads. This isn't going to totally match, but they're from the same paper pack, which, as you can see, is very unusual for me. These are from the same paper pack, but I don't usually do that, you know. It's, for me, coordinating things like that is not necessary. This is just happening to all come together like this. So I cut the background, and I was talking about what a challenge it is to work with this shape. And here's my willow flower fairy holding the leaves of the willow tree. And you can see how long and narrow they are. It's like the leaves on here. And they're sort of get narrow at the bottom, and they get really pointed at the top. And I think they refer to these as like a lance shape, lanceolate, like the head on a spear or lance. But I love that shape. Of course, these got a little bit of teeth on them on this willow tree here. And I'm like, okay, so I have my willow fairy. I've got my background. And I'm like, how would I soften this page up a little bit? And I'm looking around here, I'm looking around. And then underneath the table, I've taken you down there before. There's a bucket of these vintage hankies that I got at the flea market. And I'm like, well, what about doing something a little different on this page? Maybe a little bit of a fabric flip over her picture. And I'll sew it up there, and then you can lift it. Because, you know, I'm having a problem with these, that shape up there. So different ideas to do with that big rounded dome at the top there. Like that. And then this can be like maybe a pocket for the picture. So, you know, I love my interactive, so you'd have to lift that up and then pull out the journaling card. And I said, well, that would be nice. I still have a lot of room here. A lot of real estate on this side. I thought, well, I can move this over here. I could sew this. I could sew it straight across. And then have a flip up and have her here. And then my willow tree picture here. And I could put this on another tag maybe. I could do my journaling or something. Oh, here's one. That would be nice there. And I can journal around on the tag. Or I could just use a piece of paper, right? And then I could, but I could sew this here and maybe put a cluster up there of some sort. So I would wind up with a flip, a cluster. I kind of like her in the middle, but I think with two elements. Wait, let me cut that tag out. So I would put the picture on the tag, do a little bit of journaling, just have her flat, and then put this here and a cluster up there. Now, if you want to do a fabric flip, you don't have to have a vintage hanky. You can use any scrap fabric that you want. But I'm picking this because of the gray and the whole theme we got going here. But I probably will want to add gold too, because there's gold on here. And just keep with the theme across 2 pages, because why not? I don't usually do that all the time. Like I already said. Okay, so what am I going to do? I am going to, I think I will work on the construction of the page before I put the fabric on, because once the fabric's on, I mean, then I'll have to deal with this here, right? So I don't have to deal with that right now. Now, am I going to glue this down or sew this down? Well, I'm going to do sewing up here, so I think I will just glue this down. I know, you have to make like all these very important decisions when you journal. And I am going to use a glue stick, which is somewhere here. I got some tacky glue and I got the glue stick. I'm going to put these a little bit of an angle. And all this rain we've had is washing, you know, the light sand away on my dirt road out here. And it's exposing more rocks. I picked up a few. I've got them sitting under the camera stand over there. I want to journal about them. And somebody sent me a, all right, if I tilt this way, a fun rock collecting cartoon. I don't want to share it now. I want it to be a little bit of a surprise. Okay, I'm going to journal, or I could put it in the one corner, like this. right? And I'm going to do my journaling right here and come back. Well, now I am going to attempt to sew this on here. Just like that. And then think of what I want to use for a cluster up there. Alrighty, jumping back in, let me show you what I've done. I've got my hanky stitched across, and I decided to go around the top petal there. As you can see, it's not easy to do round. I did a pretty good job. It is possum perfect for sure. And then I went to trim the sides of the hanky, and I didn't like the raw edges. Now, I know some people do this and it looks marvelous. I love the look of like raw edges and different things going on. But you know me, I've got to add more. So I took a ribbon and I sewed it down each side of the raw edge, and I did these cross black stitches like right in there, and I love the way that looked. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. And then I'm like, well, what if I added some random beads on there? Because you know, it's always a possum patty, one more thing. So I just got out a little box of beads, and I picked some white ones, some clear ones, some gold ones, and I could have put a black one, but there weren't any tiny black ones. But I think my lights just blinked on and off. It is still, oh, there they go again. It is still raining. And we got an email from the electric company that said, be prepared to have your electricity go out at any moment now. I'm like, okay, maybe this won't get done tonight. All right, fingers crossed, here we go. So the beads act as also like a little weight. I found that flips if you add something substantial to something so thin as a vintage hanky, that it helps with the flippy action. Usually I put them down at the edge, but I love this embroidery down there. I didn't want to cover it up. So I got my beads on the side, and this is all possum perfect now. So we got the hand stitching, we got the machine stitching, we got random beads on there. As you noticed, I haven't put this in the book yet because I have one more thing I want to do, and that is put a topper on there. So I was looking for a leaf because you know I'm talking about the shape of these leaves and how they are lance shaped. So what I did was I took a leaf like this, just like this, and made my own because you know, got to use your imagination here. You use what you have. You use what you have. You don't have the perfect leaf, make the perfect leaf. All right, so I was going to put this, now I can't put it overlapping because then this won't flip up. So this is going to have to go at an angle. And I do have some tulle cut here somewhere underneath the beads. And I thought about making sort of a gathered up thing like that, maybe, thinking about it. And then can sew the, actually I can make that coming out the side. That would be interesting, right? Have that on one side and the leaf on the other coming out. And then, oh, and then I couldn't find any gold, but this is from the Dollar Tree. It's like a rose gold, but the middle petals do look goldish. They look goldish. All right. what you do is you just pull this apart like that. And pull the center out like that. I have to throw that away because we don't want the cats chewing on it and choking. And let's see now. This is full of glitter. It is getting sparkle everywhere. Look at that. Look at that marvelous sparkle right there. Oh, you know what? I would love to overlap these, which means I gotta cut them apart. So I can line them up like that. Do I want the leaf? Want that on top of the leaf? Sure. And that underneath. All that business like that. Okay, so how am I going to do this? So what I do with netting is I fold the end and stitch it on there like this. All right. And then I go back and forth, back and forth. Don't make your stitches too big. I should save some of this netting for my Halloween journal. Which I was going to get out, but now I'm behind. Because of current events. Well, I usually make like, I don't know, like 5 videos a week, don't I? Quite regular with that. And, you know, I only made like 1 in the last week or so. But don't think I wasn't busy at work. Because my computer just told me my screen time was up 92%. Because what I was working on was 5 slideshows for Mom's celebration of life. Hundreds of pictures. It turned out only to be like 17 minutes long. Of course, each picture is only up there for like 5 seconds and then it loops and loops. So I made 5 slideshows. One of her early days in New York City, and then her as a mom. She has 6 kids. And then I did a funny one to put right in the middle because, you know, things can get so emotional. You have to have a little levity because, you know, you're celebrating life. You're not there to be sad. So what I do next? Oh, and then I did the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren, and then I just did a whole bunch of random other people in the family and friends and all that stuff. And there's a lot of things in there I gotta fix, but I ran out of time. So I'll be redoing parts of that over again. And then my cousin who came from out of town, he's like, oh, you should make one for me. For his celebration of life. You should go into business. I said, oh, yeah. I said, yeah, $1,000. Anybody wants me to do that for them, $1,000. Because it took me 10 days. All right. So then I just tied it like that. Maybe I'll make one more knot. I could show you the funny one. I could put that one at the end if you're interested. You don't have to watch it. I know I'm going to be journaling probably about Mom. A few more pages, but you know, you journal for your mental health benefits. See, I want to have that just out on the side. And then couple of these on the gold side. Or should I put the leaf? Oh, I could put the leaf, and I could put those, and then I could put, I don't know why the word button keeps popping into my head. Like I should put a button. I don't know what a button has to do with anything. Maybe a bead. Okay, that would have to be like that. Okay, so can you sew onto a silk leaf? You can try. If it doesn't work, I've got another one. Stitches are okay. We can see stitches. See the handiwork. It's supposed to stop raining pretty soon. Now I'm wondering if I should put a big blob of glue gun. Or maybe I could just sew it to the paper. See, 3 little stitches in there. No problem. So I'm just gonna put another knot in here. I know when I sew it never looks like I know what I'm doing. Because I don't. But that's okay. That is okay. Now this is very net-like too. How am I going to sew this down? That's why I think something on top to hold it would work best. There's some thread going this way. Little break there to change the battery. I don't know. I feel the need for a button. Big jar of buttons here. And I'm thinking we got gold, black, green. Green and gold and white and gray. So gray would be nice. White, black. These are made out of paper. Oh. Ooh, look at these. Those are very vintage. Let's see. Kind of like this green, and it kind of matches the background. I could layer up some buttons, sew one button on top of another button. Well, we got a vintage hanky. We could have a vintage button. I have glued the background onto the foundation page. I have sewn my button on, my weird cluster over here, but I am good at weird. Oh, and look, I found a vintage button, and it has a name. And my button's name is John Meyer. And he comes from Norwich. Well, apparently, John Myers was a big manufacturer of clothing in Norwich, Connecticut, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And I got to look up the company, but there's a lot of vintage clothing on sale from John Myers. So I guess he's pretty famous. Obituary in the New York Times. Maybe I need to do a page on John Myers, if I can find another one of his buttons. I didn't know he was famous. I'm sorry. I put him on this page. Well, there it is. A leaf, 2 buttons, part of a poinsettia flower from the Dollar Tree, some old black tulle netting, big blob of glue gun glue, and hopefully that'll stay on. Well, since he was a big manufacturer of vintage clothing back in the day, I guess it's appropriate that I have a fabric flip for my Willow flower fairy right there. And this page was a lot of fun to do. And I will come back and make a little folder for this page and then move on to the next. So I just want to thank you for coming along with me today, and happy junk journaling. Bye-bye.